Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Organ Donation India Foundation, and Gyan. Our endeavor is to bring to you or enlighten you about the current topics. But before that, I would like to welcome all our viewers of the Bharat Post News who are live streaming this program from yesterday. Uh, and the topic, today's topic is parenting challenges in big cities. Parenting or child rearing promotes and supports the physical, emotional, social, and intellectual development of a child from infancy to adulthood. Parenting refers to the intricacies of raising a child and not exclusively for a biological relationship. The most common caretaker in parenting is the father or mother or both the child's biological parent. If you are a working parent in a big city, you don't need a commissioned survey to tell you that the amount of time you spend with your children is less than ideal. But a study now nails the fact with stats called Together Quotient. The survey of more than 1,800 fathers and mothers in 6 major metros reveals that a sizable numbers of parents feel unsatisfied with the levels of involvement with the child. In Mumbai, when asked to rate their involvement on a 4-option scale, only 50% parents in Mumbai claim to be extremely involved in the lives of their children, with extremely involved being the highest rung in the AC Nelson study. The parents surveyed were between the age of 26 and 45 years, with children in the age group of 6 to 12 years. The cities scanned were Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Bengaluru, Chennai, and Hyderabad, with an average household income of rupees 18,000 a month. Expectedly, 70% parents across the 6 cities complained that a disproportionate work-life balance negatively impacts the involvement with the child, belaying the belief that the mother spent more time with their children. The survey reveals that both working parents spend more or less the same amount of time with their offspring. Only 2 hours a day on weekdays and 4 hours on weekends. Parenting has always been tough, but homeschooling, working from home, and all the financial uncertainty surrounding COVID-19 has made it even tougher. While the entire world is battling the effects of the coronavirus pandemic, parents have entered a state of panic, given that the second wave is much deadlier than the first and impacts children too. Currently, India is under a partial state of lockdown and schools and colleges have been shut for safety reasons. This means that parents have more time with their kids and have to tackle many more parenting challenges than usual. Just like adults, children have also started sensing the dangers of the pandemic. Staying indoors has also disrupted their mental health and peace. Parents have to not only tend to their own state of mind, but must also look after their child's mental well-being. In such situations, it is proper to stay calm and indulge in activities that are full of fun. One can invest time in doing yoga and practicing yoga along with kids. Distribute work with a spouse and make time for children. In these troubled times, when one has to stay indoors, it is likely that one lose track of time. This may disrupt daily schedule. However, it is important to maintain healthy routines for children. If parents introduce them to a strict routine, children will have something to look forward to, which will keep them engaged and enthused. During this lockdown, small children may experience a lot of discomfort, leading to a lot of stress. Unlike adults, children express their disagreements with the help of temper tantrums, common amongst the toddlers. While it is common, it might take a heavy toll on parents. Parents must learn to cope with these behavioral issues. Do not give into their pleas, but parents can introduce new distractions. If they are big enough to understand reasons with them, give them unavoidable alternatives. While schools are shut, it may be hard for parents to keep up with their child's learning. However, it is not impossible. Whether they are attending their own online classes or working on their home assignments, help them with ease. Let them ask as many questions as they want, but also let them use their intelligence. Give them short breaks in between so that they can re-energize themselves. For parents, keeping their children active during the pandemic can be a task. As they are not allowed to go out to play or meet their friends, it may be a bit challenging to keep them engaged. In such scenario, parents can always introduce them to new activities like reading, dancing, yoga, meditation, board games, and whatnot. And because these problems, we found that mainly in the big cities, the reasons are manifold, but main reasons are: number one, nuclear families which are staying in the big cities, and secondly, the high rise buildings, the flat system, which is not common in a smaller city or village. So these two factors have more challenges for the parents, because if you are staying in a high rise building, definitely you cannot go out from your flat, and the flat size can vary from 250 square foot to anything to 4,000 or 10,000 or 40,000 square feet. But the normal flat size is 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, or 3 bedrooms. In that, to cope up with your parents or the parents-in-law or your spouse and with the children is not an easy task. And that's why it's a very, very challenging for the parents to be in the high-rise buildings. Secondly, because of the nuclear family, because the nuclear family, those who are staying in the big cities, the parents and the children, as one or two child, now they are having no other recreation outlet or anyone to speak. Now, if the parents both are working, if they are busy with the work from home, who is going to take care of the child? And if the child is also online education, it's very, very difficult. If the child is a small one, say by up to from the age of 3 to 8 years or so, at that time, it is very, very challenging for one of the spouse to take care of the child and to do the work from home. So today, to discuss this very important aspect, the parenting challenges in big cities, we have a panel which consists of, as usual, our senior psychiatrist plus three parents, those who are looking after their child or the children, and those who are staying in a big city, and they all are from Mumbai. So they know the problems, the challenges, the advantages and disadvantage to stay in a big city. So let's start our program by calling our first guest, and I would like to invite and introduce him. He's Dr. Rajiv Anand. Dr. Rajiv Anand is the senior psychiatrist and marriage counselor. Dr. Rajiv Anand passed his MBBS in 1976 and did MD in psychiatry in 1980 from King's George Medical College, Lucknow. He opted to serve his country when it was very common to settle abroad for brighter future. He has been serving society with his base in Mumbai. He has clients all over India as well as in many other countries. He was honored with Lifetime Achievement Award by AMA. He has conducted more than 3,000 workshops for different groups and companies with audience size of 10 to 800. His television program on various channels have been widely appreciated for his forthright and practical approach. He is leading in the field of mental and emotional well-being for 40 years. He was president of IMA for 2 times. He was interviewed in several talk shows in domestic and internationally. Welcome, Dr. Rajiv Anand, on our show. Dr. Rajiv Anand, you are also stationed in a metro or a big city called Mumbai, and you are also having the your clients from across the world, and you might be seeing the difference, the big city, the small city, or the metro cities, or the all those who are staying even abroad. But today we are discussing on the parenting challenge in big cities. So we would like to know your views on parenting challenges in big cities. Dr. Rajiv Anand, please.
Yes, good morning. I hope I am audible.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lal. And good morning to all my fellow panelists, all the viewers across different states and other countries, all the viewers who are connected live through YouTube and Facebook. And it's an interesting topic about challenges to the parents in the big cities. Fair enough that we are talking today about big cities, but first of all, let me say the parenting itself is increasingly becoming more and more challenging. That's one thing. And why it is becoming, let's throw little light on that, because we are falling apart. It's not the concern of challenges to big city parents only. I am equally concerned, interested in the parents who are living in suburban areas or two-tier, three-tier cities or in rural areas. Not that they are not having problems. They too have their own share of problems. Ironically, they feel that the people who are in the city, they must be having either no problem or much less problem because they have an imagination that the comforts which can be bought, arranged by the money, they would make the life of the parents easier, which is not so. All the three young mothers who are sitting over here would agree that whatever money could buy gadgets or toys or picture books or TV programs or YouTube programs, they have on one hand helped the parents to keep the child engaged, but they also have added to the worry, is the child going to be addicted? Is the child going to get hooked on that, on anything? Which fearfully every parent feel concerned because child is showing sign of it. We often blame the child for it without realizing the child has less else to do. People living in the rural areas or far away from the big cities, they feel the life is easier or more comfortable for the parents because of privilege of some facilities. While the parents living in the big cities, they have equal view. जो हमारी प्रॉब्लम है वो हमारी प्रॉब्लम है. छोटे शहरों में पेरेंटिंग बड़ी इजी होगी. कुछ एरियाज में है. I agree. In villages, in countryside, in rural area, in small time, is still a concept, a very admirable concept of society or big family or extended family. Wherever there are big families or extended families or neighbors as good as virtual family or foster families, the load on the real mother father become less. Children do have a privilege to visit their cousins if they're living under the same roof, or their uncles and auntie, or next door neighbor. In many ways, the responsibility of the real parents get 25%, 50% less, which is a boon in Indian society. I do not imagine that elsewhere it would be that much so, especially in the Western countries. But in rural areas, they also have their own set of problems. They also are facing more or less the same crisis what anybody else is paying because the electronic media, social media is reaching them fast. The main concern these days of any parent is that we are getting less and less time. We, the parents, I might have graduated to a stage of a grandparent stage, but I have equal empathy and equal concern about the parents, all the three young folks. The we parents are getting so much divided, so much distracted by so many people that even if you want to have a breakfast, there are 5 phone calls. Even if you're getting ready, there are people who are trying to draw your attention because everybody else in the world around is calling you at his or her convenience without taking into account what you are doing. Everybody else expect his needs or her needs. Or whenever he is free or she is free, they want to just impinge on your time. Very few people are sensitive enough or sensitive enough to leave a parent, to give space, and to let the parent say, I would call back, or I'm not free, or send a message. Now, that may sound very, very simple thing, but this is a pressure because the people who are near and dear ones, and they have liberty to call any time, they are not realizing that they are not letting parents do the duty, what they owe it to their child. And many times, beside doing active duty, parents also need to recover, restore their energy, restore their balance, restore their equilibrium, and steal away some time for themselves, even if it is just sipping a cup of tea, even if it is just closing the eyes, even if just reading one page of a book which they have been delaying for the last 20 days. There are many, many small things by which parents would get nourished, parents would restore the energy, which is not happening the way it should happen. All three young women sitting here, Simran Arora, Simran Bhageshwari, and Pooja, all three in the first 5 years of their motherhood, a very, very crucial period. In fact, they would throw more light on this subject from their practical experiences than me from my academic understanding. The parents have to reorganize their life because the world will not change. Society may not change that easily, nor we have been authorized to change the society, be it a call from a brother or a sister or a neighbor or from any XYZ. And if you happen to be professional, if you happen to be doing duty in your capacity as any kind of professional service, then people may call you even for your professional services. And you can't tell them, I'm a mother, I'm feeding my child, or I'm serving breakfast to my child, or I'm busy with this thing. Nobody give you that kind of leverage, that kind of space. So we have to plan, we have to reorganize our life. And that's where I believe the success of this program, Media Conference with Goel, which he had been very admiringly doing over the last 15 months or so, that's where the success lies. All over the world, all over the society, we keep on talking about problems, problems, problems. Most average mind talks about problems. But who talk about the solution? Evolved mind talk about solutions. Less evolved mind talks about problem. So there is an epidemic of problem because everybody is singing in the same chorus, problem, problem, problem. Yes, there are problems with the parenting role too. But then who talk about solution? So let me make an attempt to talk about solution, which it just happened to me a minute back. If we divide the parent-child association and we divide some way the time between them in few simple compartments, let us give the child an opportunity, whatever he wants to do with the YouTube videos or with his picture book or with anything of his interest, depending on age. Let him be gradually trained that you be with it for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or 20 minutes entirely on your own. You may or may not see the parents around. Learn to be connected with whatever you are with be it TV or be it book or be it your game or toys. Let the child learn for 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes to be with something which engages his or her attention without being monitored or without seeing the parents. Let him develop ability to focus on something. Let him also develop ability to be with himself. That's part one. In the same time, let parents also develop their own priority, their own need, whatever they need to do, whether it's a phone call which is pending for last 2 days, whether it's office work, there's a book to be read, whether there's something else to be attended to. Let gradually, if we begin from today, it could take maybe a month, maybe 2 months. The child would learn this period is separate for me, separate for my parent. That's part one. Second part, I would say, let the parents sit with the child every 2 or 2.5 hours or 3 hours as the time permit, depending on their role, where there is interaction, where there is indulgence, when the child and the parent, by the turn, for the father or mother, Be it they play with the child, or be it they watch together the TV, or be it they just read any book, picture book, or be it they do whatever different kind of items are coming, or different kind of toys, and let child hear something from parent, let parent hear something from child, and let child learn this habit. Then after 2 hours, my mother or father would sit with me. Let him learn the discipline. First slot was child alone, parents alone. Second slot was two together. Third slot or third compartment, I would very strongly recommend. Let child be left with some other child, even if it is for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. On some pretext, we can involve the mothers who are in neighborhood, mothers whom we know, or mothers who may be accessible on the video. Because children have a very strong need to connect. They have a very strong need to watch other kids. They have a compulsive need to emulate other kids around, which maybe in the physical circumstances enforced on all of us unwillingly due to lockdown, that may not be possible. But children love to watch other kids. So if it is not that easily possible, at least on video, preferably I would say rather than a video on mobile, let it be on the TV screen where there's a bigger, relatively larger size image of. Let the child become familiar with the other child. See, if two kids are there who are cousin to each other, let them fix a time or let them find out the feasibility of twice in a day when they would appear before each other on video, and they would connect to each other. Whatever language they speak to each other, whatever toy they want to show to each other. Maybe today, let's begin with two. Tomorrow we may begin two. We may have third one. We may rope in third child. We may rope in fourth child. So who knows? After 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 1 month or 2 months, there may be a mini get together of 4, 5, 6 children on the TV screen. On the screen, commonly shared, there may be a Zoom meeting for the kids, which they would love to, whatever they want to share about it, whatever they want to check, whatever toys they want to very proudly show to each other. And that period would increasingly be falling into the benefit account of the parents. They would be free. They can watch from distance. And children also would be very happy because they are interacting with the other children. I agree, problems are there. I agree. Problems are going to increase, but I also agree the human intelligence, the most evolved, most advanced intelligence ever seen on this planet, ever seen in the history of the human civilization. So we have to find solutions. And intelligence simply means making the best of whatever is there. Intelligence simply means if an ant has intelligence, whatever little it has, it makes the best of its body, best of its parts. It carries on its life. If a cockroach has a very limited intelligence, it never crips, never complains. It doesn't know where is God, whom to complain to. Maybe the we human being with the best of the intelligence have developed a habit of cribbing, complaining, and keep on commenting about everything which is not to our liking. Let's shift ourselves. Why I am thinking it necessary to talk about it, because the role of a young mother or a young parent is genuinely very demanding. Much before they have begun enjoying the bliss of the married life, they are parents. And since so much time is required, they don't get time to talk to their spouse, or often they don't get time to listen to their spouse because the voice coming from the spouse is interrupted many times. What they want to talk to their husband or wife, they may not get chance. So the demand on parent is really genuinely becoming increasing, and that's where they feel frustrated, they feel irritable, they feel cranky, or they snap, or their various roles in the house or in the family, which God willing, most in the big cities are having nuclear family. But in some cases, if they're having joint family, or if the in-laws are there, if the other people are there, they themselves, the young parents themselves, are many times at the breaking point. They are at the age because they don't have energy. They haven't been nourished. They haven't connected to whomsoever they would like to connect. That's where my very simple and strong recommendation. Let parenting challenges be reviewed by every parent in big city. I agree there is difficulty. There are difficulties. But I've also shared in the same breath, there are solutions too. Most mothers, when they meet, they talk about the problems. Why not talk about solution? Like I mentioned, this solution. Even if two kids are made to sit together and play with their respective game, and the parents disappear for 5 minutes, parents disappear for 5 minutes. What would happen during these 5 minutes when the parents will not be around? When the parents will not be around, children would not have anybody to complain to. During these 5 minutes, if there are two kids, both would learn to accept each other. तीसरा कोई है ही नहीं कंप्लेन करने वाला. जहां कोई कोर्ट ही नहीं, कोई सुनवाई नहीं है, वहां ग्राम पंचायत नहीं फैसले होने हैं. जहाँ कोई सेशन कोर्ट नहीं है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट, हाई कोर्ट नहीं है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट नहीं है, वहां केस कहाँ ले जाना है? आपस में सुलझाना है. 5 मिनट में एक बच्चे को कंप्लेंट होगी, अगले 5 मिनट दूसरे बच्चे को कंप्लेंट होगी, दोनों बोलेंगे मेरी कंप्लेंट तेरी तेरी कंप्लेंट से बराबर हो, हिसाब हो गया. They would learn to accept each other. They would learn to coexist with each other. That's a very important part of training. Let's not forget that we have to keep in mind that parenting is not just feeding, not just providing, but supervising his or her growth in the optimum way so that every element of nature, every element of social circle, every element of human emotion coming from parents, coming from grandparents, coming from neighbors, coming from fellow kids should be allowed to nourish the child, should not be allowed to get blocked. Please, all of you, all the three young mother would agree with me. There are 100 blocks. These days, child is feeling deprived of what he needs, which is not merely toys, which is not merely comfort of a mother's lap. Much, much more than that. He want to play with the water. He want to feel the touch of the fresh air. He want to move around on the beach. He want to throw a ball. You want to see the glee on the other child's face when he see that this child has got a better toy and he can show it to her. Then the original owner child feels so happy about it. I have this toy, you don't have it. All these are experiences they are learning to grow their emotions of different kind. And the parents have to very, very subtly, very gently, very often passively, they have to nudge them to grow these emotions, which are very important part of the personality. In fact, wherever we see psychopaths, wherever we see criminals, wherever we see antisocial elements, they all are evidence of poor parenting. And most of them, we would agree, are in big cities, be it New York, be it London, be it Bombay, be it any other big city. They are less from the rural areas, less from the hinterland of the country, any country. So this is a very subtle message for all of us. We need to review, we need to revise. It's not very difficult science, it's very simple. You need not to necessarily read books and get benefited by them. Discuss among themselves. Let your children see that you're having Zoom conference with mother of that kid. Tomorrow, let them feel tempted. You are also going to have a Zoom conference with your kids. Let 3, 4 of them sing their whatever way they sing, whatever they talk. They would look forward to. I'm sure about it. So I'm stopping here. I'm eagerly waiting to hear all the 3 young mothers. They are much more than my academic knowledge may. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rajiv Anand, for giving your forthright views. And what Dr. Rajiv Anand said, I will just highlight few. One is, he says everyone is talking about the problem, but we should also talk about the solutions. And he has given few very good solutions. One is the division of time. He says that you must make a timetable, that much time the child should be left alone, and that much time the parent should not see or oversees the child. Let him or her do whatsoever they want. Only thing is, one has to be cautious about that he or she should not be something dangerous, doing something dangerous or risky for the life. Otherwise, let the child will be alone. Secondly, he says the parent, the spouse should divide the time that once if the husband is taking care of the child, mother will not be there for some time. When the mother is taking care of the child, the father should not be there. So the child will also understand the importance of both the parents, and the parents will also have the connection with the child, uh, with taking care of the child. Thirdly, he's mentioned about the two kids to play with together, which generally in Western countries they call play date. I'm sure in Mumbai also they might be calling the play date. The play dates are very common in Western world. I'm not sure because now I'm not in Mumbai and I have no small kids to know about what is in Mumbai. But I was told that there is play dates even in Mumbai. Now, in that, the child not only learn how to mix up, but the main advantage is the how to respect others. A boy or a girl, if they are meeting at the young age of 2 or 1.5 or 2 or 3 years, they start respecting each other. The boy will start respecting the girl will start respecting the boy, which is very much required in our country. We so much with the biggest problem today is the rape, and this thing because there is no such type of outlets in the many of the cities or many of the families. So what Dr. Rajiv Anand said is very, very important, that if the child be allowed to meet each other, they not only develop the mixing, how to behave, plus also how to respect the others. That is very important point which he has mentioned. And he has also mentioned that the maximum criminals is found in the big cities, whether it's in New York, London, or Mumbai. Yes, that is also a very, very important point. And that is why, because there are lots of challenges, there are lots of shortcomings in big cities. As Dr. Anand has mentioned, that the smaller cities people or the village people feels that everything is very good, very bright in the big cities, but there are lots of challenges, but solutions are also there. Thank you very much, Dr. Rajiv Anand. I will come to you and I will ask something which I also want that you must clarify for our viewers, because what you are talking is making so much sense, and I'm sure our all viewers are learning, and especially the young mothers, the young fathers, they should learn how to do proper parenting instead of uh, taking out their frustration on a child. Thank you very much, Dr. Rajiv Anand. Now, I would like to go to my next panelist guest, and she is Miss Bhageshri Borgarkar. Miss Bhageshri is a microbiologist by degree and an interior designer by profession. She is in the field for 15 years and passionately transformed residential and commercial properties. The last 2 years, she is a full-time mother and loved every moment of it. Welcome, Miss Bhageshri Borgarkar on our show. Miss Bhageshri, you have heard what Dr. Rajiv Anand has mentioned, and he has given lots of solutions. I'm sure you being you are a microbiologist yourself, interior designer yourself, and you are staying in a metro city that is Mumbai. You might be knowing many of these things, but we would still want to know more challenges, or what challenges today the big city parents are facing. So the challenges, parenting challenges in big cities. Miss Bhageshri Borgarkar, please.
Good morning to all of you all, to my fellow mommies, to Mr. Goel, Ms. Dr. Anand. Thank you for having me, and to all the viewers, obviously. So what Dr. Anand has said is very correct and very apt. And something I learned from it is to give my daughter an alone time, which right now we are not doing I mean, to an extent where she does have her alone time, but the moment she realizes someone's missing, she goes searching for them. So what he said, I'm going to try implementing very soon. Main challenges that we see in our city is to have a well-rounded child, because that pressure of having a well-rounded child is there. The child needs to have his milestones done on time, have to have the food criteria done on time. There are probably other things that the child needs to pick up. Oh, your child is not doing this, your child is 18 months, your child is 16 months, your child is not doing so many things. So that pressure, I don't know whether it doesn't happen in smaller cities, but because we have so much overload of knowledge in our big cities, where are so many access to so many things, that we keep pressurizing ourselves that our child needs to be, has to be very well rounded, needs to have all aspects ticked. like needs to be, has the best education, needs to be happy, needs to be healthy, needs to eat well, needs to have all its milestones done. So those challenges, I feel, I'm not sure how less of it is happening in smaller cities, but in our cities, it's far more. It's far more because of the kind of knowledge we have, kind of exposure we have to the world, or probably to access to things that we get. I think the challenges increase with that. So when we check, okay, every 5 seconds, okay, this milestone or this that or this food pressure. I am part of a lot of mothers groups, and there is so much talk. Oh, my child is not eating this, my child is not eating that. Also, what happens is, because we're nuclear families, we don't know where to rely on. Because in smaller cities, you have the guidance of older people, you have the guidance of your family right around you, and like Dr. Anand said, you're living in a bigger family. You have your cousins, you've seen those kids grow up, so you know what you have to do with your child. In our case, we are first time experiencing all of this. So for us, it's more about how do we cope with it. So the pressure increases because you're checking everything every moment. Okay, is this is done right or this is not done right. The pediatrician is obviously there, but how much are you going to ask your pediatrician? You can't go to him for every small thing that happens to your child. So that's where you start overloading yourself with knowledge, and that somewhere becomes an issue eventually when you start saying, "Oh, my child is not doing this, my child should be doing that." Those kind of problems we start facing. Secondly, I also feel it's the education system that we have now. I had taken my daughter's admission when she was 3 months old in a preschool, which she was going to go 2 years later. That kind of thing that happens in our city, in big cities, I don't know how much that happens in a smaller town where you have to worry about your child's education before the child is even born. So you have to make sure that, okay, your child is going into a good play school, because the play school your child goes to at 2 is going to affect the school it goes to at 3. So that kind of pressure to make sure your child gets into a good play school is also with us. So, and the kind of money you spend on it. So you're spending a bomb of money for your child to go for 3 hours of play school where it does what you could do at home, but we cannot do it, because I have seen the difference of what a teacher can do to my child and what I can do for my child. I've seen the difference because I have someone who comes home for my daughter now. So that kind of channelizing which happens in big cities. Now, when we come to talk about play dates, we tried doing play dates. It was great fun. But my biggest challenge is to teach my daughter how to share. She doesn't know how to do it. She cannot do it because she doesn't have siblings or family living so close by her age for her to know what it is to share. So when we are in a play date, unlike what doctor said, we are more about this toy is mine and not yours, so don't touch it. So now my challenge is to teach her that she has to share. It has come to a point where we're thinking, well, maybe she needs a sibling, because that's how she learn whether it is important to share with the child, because you're not going to be able to say this is mine only. So that sharing has become a problem. Now, what has happened, whether it is Pooja or Simran or me, our children were born just before the pandemic has come in. So because of that, we have not been able to expose them to a lot of things, like whether it is meeting kids, playing with other people, taking them out, explaining to them, okay, fine, when you meet in a children in a group of 10, everything is to be shared. That experience we've never had. Because our kids were born and just before the lockdown, before they started understanding what it is to be a child, we were stuck and they were stuck with just our faces for almost 2 years now. My daughter celebrated both her birthdays in the lockdown. So I have not been, my biggest challenge here is how do I teach my child to become someone like who can share, who is a child at the end of the day, but at the same time, who is growing up to be a well-rounded child, like who knows what it is to respect, who knows what it is to love, who knows what it is to give, who knows what it is to take. So that challenge right now is the biggest thing. And because of the pandemic, it has all got obviously more delayed, more affected, because she doesn't see any other faces at all. So when she does, thankfully with all my daughter didn't have social anxiety. She was very fine when she met people. I have seen mothers, like I have my friends who have been crying to me because their child sees a new face and howls because of this pandemic, because they're not used to seeing new faces. Having said that, again, what this lockdown did for us is obviously protected our children, because we were so worried, all of us, with the second wave, kids getting it. So in a way, the lockdown has been good because my daughter was safe at home. But other than that, it was just been difficult to occupy her time, thing. And we in the city have more access to the iPad, have more access to the screen time. And my daughter's in this second wave, especially, the screen time has just gone triple. Like she what you I used to make sure I have organized her screen time in the first lockdown, because that's when she turned about 1, when she understood what the screen is. I used to give her 10 minutes, and like Dr. Ahmed said, it was all systematic and like you said, have a schedule and everything done. But this second time around, it has all just been, I think maybe because we are mentally tired, we are physically tired, we're working, we're doing things. Second time around, we're like, okay, see how much of a laptop you want. Like it's the restriction on it has changed to the point where she leaves it when she is bored. Not so much as when I want her to leave it. She leaves the time. Okay, I'm bored now. I don't want to watch this. Let's play. It's reverse. It should be the other way around, but it is reverse. So that for me is it's become a challenge now to get her off that screen time and occupy her somewhere else. But now where? Because we are again not going anywhere, cannot take her out. She doesn't know what it is to go to she doesn't know what it is to go to the beach or go into a pool. She barely knew what it was to go to a park, and now that has also stopped. So we don't have that many outlets anymore to keep them busy, to keep them otherwise. So by default, it is all going into the screen. How much are we going to entertain? All new activities, all the toys that she had, she's played with and she's done with. So now, what next? So for me, the challenge or the bigger challenge is to how to occupy that child to get her. Like I feel I'm wasting her mind, which is she's only 2, but I'm still feel like sometimes I'm wasting it. Like I would like her to engage herself in a better way. So that is challenging for me. And like you mentioned, the biggest challenge of a big city is to make sure your child is safe. Now the gender aspect of it has gone down. It's no more about a girl child being safe or a boy child. It is all about being a child being safe. Like you said, it is very scary, like the people, the world outside, and what happens in big cities, or for that matter in small cities also, because now the news is all over because you have more access to news, you know what is happening everywhere. That keeping her safe is very scary, very, very, very scary. And that is on your mind every second. Whether it's a boy or a girl, it is no more about that. It is more about your child being safe and to teach that child that if someone to be open and tell you that look, if someone is doing something to violate your privacy, come talk to us. To teach that to a child is something that is more easier for people from the cities because we are more educated. And not educated is the wrong word, sorry. We are more not conservative, I think, because I think the conservation factor is very different from small cities and bigger cities, that we are more open to talk about it. So teaching a child that is something which I have reached a point where I'm going to start doing, because now I think my daughter is going to be 2.5 and I would like to teach her that. And the biggest not challenge, and I like to tell you an advantage of being someone from a bigger city is to have a spouse who is more hands-on. Like in smaller cities, what I have seen or read or heard or my thought process tells me, it's more about what the mother does, more about what the wife does. Now it is more about what a spouse does, whether it is the man or the woman. So that advantage we have being in from big cities, that your husbands are hands-on, and that comes from better exposure to the world. So that also has helped. So that is the advantage I see of being from a big city where your husband is more hands-on. Otherwise, doing this all alone is even more difficult, especially during this pandemic and these 2 last years. So these are all what I feel are my challenges. Over to you. I don't know whether
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms.
Thank
Bak.
you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bakshri, for giving your views. And what Ms. Bakshri has mentioned, I would just highlight you. One, she says the best pressure. Every mother or every parent want that the child should get the best, and especially in the big cities, there are lots of best thing. Everything is best. Best school, best playground, best toys, best clothes, best education. Now, when this is the situation, there's a pressure on the mother or the father. Then she says, because we are overloaded with the knowledge, might be from the Google or whatsoever, WhatsApp knowledge. They are searching everything. Okay, my child has not eaten today or taking the milk on time. Why it has happened? Again, gone to this thing. So all these pressures are more in the big cities. She also mentioned about the child education, because it's very, very, very tough to get the admission in a good school. And after getting the good school, also it's a very costly affair. But still, the parents are always worried about even the child safety, she says, because she says whether it's a boy or girl, today the safety of the child is very important. So this, because they are in big cities, there is no other relatives, the parents or the grandparents are there. So basically the child is in the hand of the mother or the father, and they have to teach each and everything how to secure themselves. And she also mentioned about the play date. She says the play date, the problem is the child is not sharing But one thing I can mention, Ms. Bakshi, because you said that your child is born before the lockdown and the lockdown started. So basically, the play date has not taken place. It's just on the screen. But when it will be initially, when you will have the play dates, initial hesitancy will be there. But afterwards, the child will start enjoying and sharing with each other. So that I am sure now, once the lockdown will be over and everything will be safe, that will be very good for you. And more screen time, yes, that is you can't avoid today. Once now, if when she will become 3 years, the online classes will start. And once the online class, if the schools are not starting, then online classes. Now, in both the cases, the screen time will increase. Thank you very much, Ms. Bakshi, for giving your very the, you can say the first-hand experience of yours. So I'm sure all our viewers are getting their own experiences. They might be comparing with your experience. It's a very knowledgeable talk which you have given. Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite my next guest, and she is Miss Simran Kaur Arora. Miss Simran Kaur Arora, a budding entrepreneur and the mother of a 2-year-old angel. After quitting her job in order to dedicate more time to her child, she realized that without self-growth and self-discovery, she would not be happy, and that her happiness is linked to her child's happiness. So she started her own little venture based on her passion for health and food. Today, she has her YouTube channel wherein she presents advisories in the form of interviews with the pediatricians, dietitians, psychologists, etc., for the mental, physical health care of babies. Welcome, Miss Simran Kaur Arora. Miss Simran Kaur Arora, you have heard what Dr. Rajiv Anand as well as Miss Bhakshri has mentioned.
Yes.
And both have given very informative views which are beneficial for all the young parents.
True.
But you, because you are already doing, you are running a YouTube channel and you are interviewing the pediatrician, dietitians, as well as the psychologists, etc. So you have more exposures with those experts, like what Miss Bakshi mentioned, overloading of knowledge, because she many times the parents doesn't know what is happening to the child and they immediately Google search. And she mentioned how many times we can talk to the pediatrician. That is also a big problem or challenge to a and in India you can talk, but abroad it's not possible to give a call to a pediatrician or psychologist anytime. You have to call the emergency, that's it. So now, what experience you have felt, that what are the challenges, parental challenges in big cities? Miss Simran Kaur Arora, please.
So I'll start off from the point that you just mentioned and Bhagyashree also addressed. Parental anxiety is a lot more in bigger cities because you are very well connected to your own social network and to media per se. So because of this parental anxiety, you end up believing that your child needs special attention, special curriculum, going to the best schools. All of these things can get addressed when a particular expert tells you that you are not the only one who's facing this. Like the first time when my child, who's a very social kid, before lockdown started, turned into a very anti-social kid, I was very anxious. Why is she crying? Like Bhagyashree said, she used to see a stranger and there was a change in her behavior. She used to just keep howling. Even if there's a plumber who's come home to change something, she used to feel that this is somebody who's not supposed to be in the house. So when you actually get anxious, the expert who we used to interview used to tell that there are such similar cases, and this is how you tackle with the child's behavior. More often than not, you actually ignore because you let them understand and learn over time that they need to adapt to this change. That's the only way. Always addressing problems is not the right way to deal with your child's issues, because then they get used to that special attention. So just a simple thing of somebody telling you that you're not alone in this boat really helps you to kind of ease out that anxiousness. That's the first thing. The idea of creating this channel was primarily so that mothers can understand the common problems faced by everyone and the common solutions that can be applied to your children. Because now what happens is every problem that we have is a big problem about our child, but you need to understand that some things are just part of growing up. That's the first thing. When we talk about challenges per se from a city to a relatively tier 2 town, the biggest challenge we feel is in terms of the financial burden. So we say that the financial requirement is a lot more when you're trying to sustain your living in a bigger city, correct? So what happens in that is now with the lockdown, a lot of businesses are shutting down, a lot of salary cuts happening. You generally are living in a state of fear as just adults. And there, as parents, the problem is that there's a child to be handled at home in that little space that you have, which is 250 square feet to a 700 square feet. Plus, you have to earn and make sure that you don't lose your job or you don't get a salary cut because of underperformance. Generally, the weight of the financial of revenue earning goes more to one parent, or they mutually decide. So the other parent, sometimes it is the mother or the female, ends up taking more responsibility. Hence, you will notice that a lot of women in the last 2 years have decided to give their careers a backseat. And this is the sad reality, where we had a lot of support available to us from the city life. We could have actually play dates or play schools for our kids. Now you're searching where to keep your child and how can you focus on a career, or even take that 2 hour time out for your own job. But more often than not, a lot of partners, mostly women, have given their career a backseat and have taken it for for a thing that maybe the next 2 years, or when till the time the lockdown gets over, we are going to play a role of a homemaker, which is something new to the city life, because city generally it is always perceived that men women work equally. Like Bhagyashree said, the men are so involved in bringing up the child that the parenting responsibility is also beautifully shared. But now, given the circumstances, whoever has a better job or a more reliable one or a more structured one, and that this person needs to kind of attend to his job more, the competition is more, one of them ends up kind of retracting, which is a big change for a lot of moms to accept this. So that's one thing. The second thing is that speed of life, everybody will say, is so different from a city life to a tier 2 city. You have so much more time naturally when you're in a tier 2 city. In metro cities, you're just all the time running to cook food, running to make your child play, running to feed the child, lunch, because you have to do something else, even if it's taking those 2 hours out for your own work or whatever it is. So because of the speed, you end up relying more on quick solutions, which is a problem. Now, more often than not, these quick solutions are coming to us in the form of gadgets, because we have to search for stuff in-house versus going outside. There was a time my mother used to make me sit in the balcony, or take me to the garden, or make me do up and down the lift and feed me food, just to kind of, make sure that I'm not getting screen time. But now the easiest solution for me, and I'm sure even Bhagyashree and Pooja agree, is that, just switch on the television, play a Coco Melon, and feed your child in 15 minutes. And the chapati or the bread has to be over in 15 minutes, because you have to have your own meal, you have to attend to whatever's required by the family. So that the speed is actually making us take a lot of wrong choices. And because of that, our child is also getting dependent on these gadgets, so to say, whether it's a laptop, whether it's a TV, whether it's a phone. Like, that your in-laws are calling, your parents are calling, like Dr. Rajiv Anand said, there's less of time available for your own recreational needs, but the grandparents want to talk to the child. So you can't say no. So they probably end up calling twice. And what the child is doing is just attending a video call. But what we're not realizing is that he is using that gadget. And a 2-year child today knows exactly how to use the remote, how to use the mobile, which is something which was not the case years back when we were being raised. So speed is something which we need to kind of control and kind of realize that, okay, sometimes just you need to take a break. Everyone is going through a transition. It is a big transition. There are a lot of moms who are, at the verge of being depressed. And even the psychologists, clearly, because of the number of cases, are not as easily available always, because they're completely booked out. So it's important that you realize that this is the time we need to hold back, relax. Things will get back to normal. Even if the child is having social anxiety, for example, like how Bhagyashree said, social distancing, which was the requirement of the time, has actually become a problem now, even for the child. All these things will slowly wade out, but we have to just have patience and wait and see where we're going. And back off in terms of speed, and realize that this financial burden is only temporary. It's not a final one. So if we are making changes in our career, if things are going slow on the personal career front, it is only a phase. That's the other thing. The last thing I'd like to say is that when we talk about these children, which is a problem that yet is not having a solution to, is getting the kids to be with other children because they learn through others' behavior. That has been the biggest challenge, because the only solution for that is also online schooling or online classes where they see other kids. Now, with online schooling, again, you're exposing them to screen time, and that is not the ideal way to see a child's behavior, how they are playing, how they're interacting. That's not the best form of interaction. But unfortunately, because of the lockdown, which is just continuously extending every now and then, it's becoming hard in cities to kind of get access to friends. So your child is becoming more like, how they say in China, kids have this problem of being the king and the queen. They are very self-focused, is what is happening as one of the behavioral changes in our kids, where they are realizing that it's all about them, it's all about their toys, their space, their parents, and nobody else. So hopefully, when the lockdown ends, things should go back to normal. But the new normal, we don't know what it is. That is the problem. The new normal is still, it's a very hazy picture. The new normal might end up being online schooling forever, which is something which is definitely a no for our children. So I remember, like, there was a time my husband had said, I'm not going to enroll my child for an online schooling. Jab tak school chalu nahi hota, we'll do homeschooling. Homeschooling burden comes on me, because when the child goes to a school, at least those 2 hours they are away. So I have to sit and homeschool, or I have to sit and be a part of online school. Screen time increases. So we've already bought her glasses, which are without a number, but just to make sure that the blue rays don't come onto her eyes and all of that. So I'm saying this is an evil which is encroaching in our lives, and we don't know how to get it out. It's the scary part is that it might end up becoming the part of new normal. So how do we manage that? The biological change that their eyes will, or the other organs will go through because of lack of movement, not going to the park, not having any physical activity. In the house also, a lot of people nowadays have bought slides and trampolines, but there's only so much that you can create in your house as a playground. You can't take them to to a zoo. You can't create a zoo in the house. So so it's just biologically they're going to be obese. They're going to be less physically active, more mentally active, and hyperactive, actually, because the number of times we're changing their activities and getting them to do new things is just instilling more hyperactivity in kids. So this biological change, we don't know to what extent will it go back once the lockdown gets over. So largely these two things which were not currently spoken of, I think it's important for parents to understand and discuss on a larger platform. And, maybe Dr. Uncle and you can actually tell us how to kind of address it.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Simran Kaur Arora. Before I will I will just give the summary of what she has mentioned. I would like to bring the attention of Dr. Rajiv Anand. Dr. Rajiv Anand, you have to be, and me also, we have to be very careful while calling to talk to the grandchild on FaceTime, because it's the right thing. What she has mentioned is a very correct thing. I have seen grandparents although they want to talk to the grandchild, but they are overdoing it rather. They are calling several times. Fix up a time, or rather call on not on a video call. Because video call is definitely going to harm the child. Once a week, fine. But to call every time on a video is wrong, which according to Ms. Simran, she doesn't want to hurt anybody's feeling, and especially the in-laws. But what she has sent is a very, very good message, very positive message. And I'm sure all our viewers who are grandparents, they must see to it that they are over-loving, or the loving the grandchild should not harm the health of a child mentally as well as physically. Thank you very much for giving such type of mental education to the grandparents. Now, what she has mentioned is, one is the child anxiety. She says every mother, it's a very common phenomenon that they have a child anxiety. The child is not eating or doing this. But when she has started her YouTube channel, and when she spoke to the psychiatrist or the psychologist or the pediatrician, this is, you are not the alone. There are, everyone is going to undergo like this. And once you have that type of feeling in you that you are not the one mother who is undergoing this type of problems, everyone is facing, so then your anxiety will be less. She also mentioned about the financial pressure in the big cities because of the job cuts, the salary cuts, and it's very difficult to stay and so much expenses. So that is one of the challenge in big cities. She also says that because no one is there to take care of the child, the nursery or the play schools are all closed. So the child is there, and you have to see to it that the child has to be taken care of. She or he has to be fed, and then you have to cook the food, and then you have to work from home, and many things. So there's always a very less time, quick solutions, always with the speed, and this is going to harm. And she says this is a challenging thing, and you are going to give unhealthy food or unhealthy things, like you will switch on the TV, you say you just sit there here and you will be feeding, which is wrong. Earlier, or in the small cities, according to her also, that mother used to take the child outside or sit in the balcony and feed like that. And she also mentioned about the hyperactivity, that the child has become hyperactive because of the so much screen time. So what is her emphasis is very clear: try to behave normally with the child, see to it that the time is abnormal, but if you will also behave abnormal, the child will become hyperactive. You have to take care of the child in full way. Thank you very much, Ms. Simran Kaur Arora, for giving very good views and educating us also. Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite my next guest, and she is Miss Pooja Anand. Miss Pooja Anand is a company secretary. She has worked with India's top CS firms, that is company secretaries firm, and have been working as a company secretary of listed as well as a private companies. Currently working part-time, raising a 2-year-old daughter. Welcome, Miss Pooja Anand on our show. Miss Pooja Anand, you have heard what Dr. Rajiv Anand, what Miss Bhakshri, and what Miss Simran Arora has mentioned before you. Now we would like to know, because everyone has given a new dimensions in this particular thing. I was a bit not happy when Dr. Rajiv Anand mentioned to me that we should have this parenting challenges the next week again, because the last week we had done the same similar program, and he wanted this week also. And I said, Dr. Anand, why? We have already covered. But he says, no, there are so many new views you will hear. And I am really thankful to Dr. Rajiv Anand that he has asked, and we organized this program with his help, that today we have been educated, enlightened, so many things. We means the young parents, which is very much required today. So thank you very much, Dr. Rajiv Anand. Now, the parenting challenges in big city, Miss Pooja Anand, please.
Hello, everybody. Very good morning to all of you present here and everybody watching us live. So I completely agree with Dr. Anand, because any amount of discussion or knowledge on the topic of parenting is never enough, because as parents, each of us are just learning each and every day from our children firsthand, and then of course from other peer groups. And I completely agree with Bhageshri and Simran, because I think that's what even I am going through personally, where there's so much of social pressure, there's so much of screen time, where we are trying our level best to cut off the screen time, or at least discipline it to only 1 hour a day, and so on and so forth, and completely avoid screen time while eating food. So like we all know, most of us are born and brought up in Mumbai, in a big city like Mumbai, so which has many attractions and temptations. So the first question is, how do we raise a child in a big city like Mumbai who is safe, who is happy, and who is sane in a concrete jungle? So if I were to answer a question on what is the best thing about growing up in Mumbai and the worst thing, for me, the best thing would be to be able to have many access to any kind of profession that I wanted, to have many attractions or places to see, roam around Mumbai being the safest in the country, and I can vouch for that. And secondly, its accessibility to arts and science. The worst part would be, I believe, the crowding on streets, and secondly is the social pressure. Now, everything and everyone around here is so competitive, which begins right at securing an admission for a child at the preschool level. Uh, Like Bhageshri said, people secure admission even before the child is born. So that is the level of pressure going on currently in a city like Mumbai. So also, I would say the pressure on bringing up a child and the pressure of being independent and being out there and doing something significant for yourself. So that is something all the young mothers are facing when they're kind of giving up their career to bring up the child, but at the back of their mind they know that they're losing out on time and losing out on their skill and going behind in their career in terms of experience and time. So that is the biggest challenge I feel. Also, you know, it's impossible. We have to kind of pick up and choose our battles, but it's impossible to resist some of the temptations that come our way. Now, most importantly, COVID 19 has shaken up the families all around the world. As homes are functioning, as schools, offices, living space, and parents are finding themselves in a bind. Now, even though as parents we have enough time to spend with our children, but the pressure to juggle between multiple roles, and we're unable to devote much time or parenting time to our children. We are always struggling with our schedules, and like everybody knows, we are partially in a second lockdown kind of a situation where we are confined to our homes. People are finding it difficult to focus on the aspects of different like overall development of the child. So the role of parents have nearly doubled to kind of managing their work from home situation, to managing home chores, everyday chores, cooking, cleaning, or assisting children with their online schooling. It's also about always finding a new way to keep the children occupied and busy without having to meet any outsider, and most importantly, no external support. Like we all stay in nuclear families, so either both parents are working and the child is there, or there are grandparents but they're unable to provide that kind of care and energy to keep up the child active the whole day. So online schooling has also you kind of made the parents as a de facto homeschooling teacher. It is ensuring whether the children is attending school, completing their daily assignments, is a cause of worry for many parents. Also, I think the most important challenge, biggest challenge is about the information that is freely and readily available on internet and TV. So with the kind of news that's coming in about the increase in number of cases or the death uh, toll is kind of creating a panic among children, where parents are not able to address and answer their questions, keeping in mind their emotional well-being. It is also more and more challenging to manage their behavior problems, since the children are confined to their home. They have no friends to meet, they have no outdoor physical activity, or whether they used to just enjoy an hour at the park, they are just getting stressed and they tend to misbehave to vent out their frustration. Now, before the lockdown, I do take my daughter to the park nearby, but before she could get used to that, and the moment she started enjoying that 1 hour of playtime in the day, we had to stop it. And then the first lockdown, she was really small, she was just a year, so no questions were asked. But this time, where she started to understand and talk, it was difficult to explain to her why we cannot go out and why we cannot go to the park and sit on the slide. So the second lockdown was more challenging in that term. Also, one of the problems could be many parents are not equipped with the right teaching technique, and hence they were unable to teach their children effectively. So children are missing out on a lot of their learning journey and overall development. So some of the things that we can do to overcome this situation would be, first and foremost, to have a fixed routine or a structure to the child's day, because having a fixed routine or structure can bring some predictability, and it can be comforting for the child. And we could include a mix of physical and mental activities to keep the child's mind and body active. Second would be to create an overall happy atmosphere at home, because uh, I think children learn the best from us, the way we communicate, the way they are kind of, the period from age 2 to 3 is where they are trying to imitate us as much as possible, to copy us and behave like us, because they are like sponge, they're absorbing every information they see or hear. So have as much as family time together, eat food together, or have family game time, or read their favorite books or something to that effect. And third would be to include them in daily course, because what I have observed is my daughter loves helping me do stuff. She runs around me. If she wants to dry up the clothes, she will come and help me. She's really excited about that part of the day. And like it said, all the good things come to an end, and so will the pandemic. So this is, however, the true test of time, where we have to navigate and help our children stay positive and healthy. But most importantly, a time for love, care, and support, as we stretch to help the young ones grow, perhaps equip them with necessary skills to prepare them for future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pooja, for giving your views. And she has raised again with same problem which we have discussed several times about the nuclear family. She says in the nuclear family, when there no one to take care of the child, the mother or the father has to take care of the child, and it's very, very challenging, especially in the big cities, because that's a mainly of the nuclear family. Although she has also mentioned, even if the grandparents are there, they are not able to give that much care because of the energy and whatnot. But she has made a very important point, and she says because of the nowadays the news which are coming on the national channel, where they are showing the deaths or the increase of the COVID, it's giving a very bad impact on the child, because the child asks the question to the parents, what is that and why it is happening, that there is no answer. So she says the behavioral problem is increasing drastically in the big cities, which the solutions also she suggested, but that is a big challenge according to her in the big cities. Thank you very much, Ms. Pooja Anand, for giving your views. Now I would like to ask the questions. My first question goes to Dr. Rajiv Anand. Dr. Rajiv Anand, big cities, the problems, the which challenges which I see is drugs, smoking, alcohol, pollution, too much crowded. Now these are happening day and out in the big cities. I was told that even in the high-rise buildings, I'm not talking of the toddlers or the small children. I'm talking of teenagers. After all, they are also children. When they are going down to in the society campus, even during the lockdown, in one of the garage, they all the students or the childs, they all are meeting each other, and there they are having these things. Now it's a very big problem in big cities, which is far less in the small city. What solution you would like to give to the parents, how they can, especially during that lockdown? Because I have come across during one of the media conference, they says that what happens that the children goes down, they smoke, and they are just meeting, and parents cannot say no, don't go out, because they are also fed up, everybody is locked down. So we want some of your good tips for our viewers. Dr. Rajiv Anand, please.
Mr. Lal, I really genuinely thank you and marvel at the questions you dig out to be thrown at us, which have its own relevance. Point one, that I very strongly believe the parents, yes, the right term is called parents, are more a symbolic parent because they have given birth to a child, so they are genuinely and justifiably called parent. But I believe that the real parent, the bigger parent, is nature. Nature which nurtures a baby right from the day of the conception, all throughout the 9 months, through the delivery, and thereafter every day, every minute of it. Parents have to realize their role, review their role. They are facilitator to let that nurturance continue in optimum way. They are facilitator, not the obstructor. It is a sad story. Today's over-informed parents, over-intelligent parents, over-related to their closest relative called Google, with whom they have the most intimate relationship 24/7. And by virtue of this excessively loaded relationship with Google, so over-informed, over-guided, over-intelligent parents, rather than becoming facilitator in the child's growth, they might be becoming obstruction. This may sound a little odd for many parents to hear. Why should we decide why my child should eat at this time, potty this time, do this and do that, should become that, should become that? Where is the pressure coming from? Why can't we allow a child to grow and grow and grow in his own way, and we just gently nudge him in the right direction? I think I'm leaving it at this point because I would like to hear from others. But parents are more a facilitator, not merely obstructioner or sole decider of a child's every part of his life. Over to you, Mr. Lal.
No, but Dr. Anand, I want the answer of my question. My question is how to control the child's behavior during the lockdown or even otherwise to prevent them. I know that you being a consultant, we are not making any charge payment to you, and you are giving free advice. You don't want to give the free advice, but I think just one or two advice which you say give to parents, the teenagers. The problem in the big cities, as our panelists have mentioned about the security. Now, how they will ensure now they are the mothers or the childs are only 2 or 3 years old. But when they will be more, 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, it's very, very scary nowadays for the security of a child.
Agreed. The big city and all the associated factors with that, we have opted for it. It has not been unwillingly forced on us. We have choice to shift out to less populated area. Anyway, that may sound a little odd and negative comment for many people because it's not so easy. We can't roll back where we have reached. Yet we can do a lot. The big city cannot come in the way of my bonding with you, Mr. Lal, wherever you are sitting. You are sitting in Bangalore, I'm sitting in Bombay. Has it come in the way? Big city can't come in the way of between me and my child, between me and my granddaughter. If I have keen desire and if I have a skill to connect to my children, be it teenager or be it lesser age, I can. I have to bend. I have to be flexible. I have to come out with my own mind zone where I'm stuck because of my thought process or my responsibility. And I have to come down at the level of the child to understand life from his perspective. Let me not take shelter behind all the ills of the big city. They were there, they are here, and they will continue multiplying it. If there is a will, there's always a way. Even in big city, we reach those relatives who are staying 25 kilometers away. Or we don't talk to the person who is just staying next door to us. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. A very nicely he has mentioned, Dr. Anand has given that we have to become a child to understand the problem, then we can solve all the problems. Thank you very much, Dr. Anand. Now my question goes to Ms. Bhageshwari. Ms. Bhageshwari, you are saying the pressure, the best pressure and doing this, and if the child is not taking the milk in time, but the pressure is everywhere in the small cities. Bua, Tai, Chachi, Kaki, who not? They are also comparing your child. Oh, it's 18 months. Your child is not speaking. The other child or so and so is speaking when he or she was 12 months. So why under pressure? The big city people feel no, it's everywhere. It's a very common, as Ms. Simran has said. What do you say about that?
Honestly, it is both coming from the same place. The pressure also comes from the internet, and the solution is also from the internet only. Where you Google, oh my God, my child is not drinking water or eating milk, drinking milk or eating food. The solution is also there. It is okay. So you have to kind of find a balance of both. Secondly, thankfully, we have a lot of mother support groups, whether it is on Facebook or whether it is on WhatsApp, where they tell you you're not alone, like Simran mentioned. So where your pressure is building in your head, you're Googling things. Okay, my child is not drinking. Next, you say, what happens if my child doesn't drink? So both the answers are in one place. But it's only about you channelizing and getting those answers, right? So you have to kind of know that, okay, you're putting this on your own head and you're building this pressure in your own head. So find a solution also in the same place you found the problem. So it is going to that same spot, or probably relying on other moms to tell you that, you know what, you're not alone, which is what has happened with me, which happened with a lot of my friends, where we've kind of told each other we're not alone. We have to do that, because otherwise we will go insane thinking, okay, how, because we don't know better. Like you're
Yeah,
saying, Nana,
yeah,
Tayi, Chachi, Mami, Kaki are all there in the small city to tell you, okay, beta, theek hai, ho jayega.
correct.
Yours is there. And also what happens is our mothers and our mother-in-laws did this 30 years back. Times have changed, and how what they did 30 years back probably not even applicable. They are amazed how a 2-year-old can swipe calls and swipe answers and go connect on video calls. It's all amazing to them as well. Their parenting style was lovely. Our parenting style is also different, but it is all different parenting style because the times have changed. So you can ask Kaka, Tai, Mai, whatever for help, but in the end of the day, they are also going to be
Uh,
pretty confused because they've done this way back. For them to refresh
yeah,
their
yeah,
parenting
yes, yes. Okay. I
yeah.
think some sound is coming. Okay, thank you very much, Miss Bhageshri.
Thank you.
Please mute yourself. Miss Bhageshri, you are right, but the day will come when your child will become parent. She will also have the same thing. It's a generation gap, which we have seen from the years of so many decades or the centuries. Now, my question goes to Miss Simran. Miss Simran, what challenges? The big cities, you have 24 hours electricity even during the heavy downpour. Internet, best internet, you have water, you have transportation available, everything is there. Why you says the more challenge? You see the challenges in a small city where there is no electricity. If it rains for hours or for the whole night, now it's very difficult for the parents in the small city than the big cities. What you say about that?
There are two different nature of challenges. What you're talking about is the functional and technical stuff, which because of infrastructure might be a challenge. What I'm talking about, which is very relevant for a child, not the parent in terms of parenting, it's the social infrastructure of a child, which is a challenge in urban cities. So the social infrastructure where you don't have access to friends, where you're not close to your family to seek their support whenever needed, and given now the lockdown, you don't even have house helps many a times, so that is the social infrastructure which is lacking, very easily, comes and goes in urban cities. There are solutions as well which are there, but they are outside the boundaries of your home. Like I said, the play
Okay,
school, the play
okay,
dates, the
yes,
Swiggies of the world, all of that. I
okay,
think that is what is like Bhagyashri also very nicely said, that let's say if there are issues, somebody is talking about your child not being fed well and the child is probably looking relatively weak. Even though you might be feeding the best food, you can just find a solution on the internet. There in the smaller town, you can actually tell your chachi and bua, कि आपको अगर लग रहा है मैं नहीं खिला रही हूँ, तो आप ही खिला दो. Why
okay,
don't you make something? Here I
yes,
don't have anybody to look back and say, listen, you know what? Just
okay.
make her a paratha or make her,
Oh, okay. Thank you, Miss Simran. Time, paucity of time. My last question goes to Miss Pooja. Miss Pooja, there are advantages in the big cities. You have moms group, you have play dates available, which are not available in a small city or a village. All these things are there. So why to say that the challenges are only in the big cities? I'm sure the challenges are there, but there are plus points. The advantages are also there in big cities. What you say about this, Miss Pooja? Only 1 minute, please.
Like you say, the grass is always greener on the other side. Same is here in this case, because in older times where there were bigger families, joint families, there used to be like 5 6 kids in the same house. They would, parents would not realize, and the kids are already into their teens and grown up, and their mother's duties would also be divided into 4 5 ladies, and they would handle. And there was in-house advice, there was in-house entertainment, whether it's taking care of the child or keeping them busy. That is the problem in big cities and nuclear families, where that is why a mom's group is required. And because we don't have like chacha chachi kaka kaki, we have to rely on unknown mothers and make our peer group and take advice. And same goes for taking care of the children, because there are not many children at home, and hence we need to organize play dates or online dance class or something like that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Pooja, for giving your views. So, viewers, you have seen today how the young mothers are facing lots of challenges in big city, and especially during the COVID time. Earlier, also there were many challenges, but now because of the COVID time, there's so much challenges, which are mental challenges, physical challenges, as well as their logistic challenges, which they are facing, and which are not there in the small cities because of the joint family. And we have done a program with Dr. Rajiv Anand of joint family versus nuclear family, and in which also people have agreed that the advantages of joint family, especially during these types of committees, especially these types of emergencies, are that if the joint family is there, one can be having no such type of challenges which they are facing today in the big cities. But I'm sure today's program has enlightened lots of things which our viewers, and especially the young mothers or fathers, can definitely try to change if they can do some things to enrich or to make their family more comfortable and loving. Thank you very much, all of you. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, as well as Bharat Post News, as well as on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day new topic. But for last 3 weeks, we are doing a program in the evening in Hindi for the achievers, those who have achieved something in the world. And we are taking, rather, it's an autobiography of them. It's a half an hour program from 4:30 p.m. Every day. It's today, and the topic of the program is called Kal Aaj aur Kal Lal Goel Ke Sang. And today our chief guest is Padam Shri Mohan Swarup Bhatia, renowned journalist, Secretary Gyandeep Shiksha Bharati Senior Secondary School, Mathura. So please tune in today at 4:30 p.m. Thank you very much, Dr. Rajiv Anand. Thank you very much, Ms. Bhagshri. Thank you very much, Ms. Simran Kaur Arora. Thank you very much, Ms. Pooja Anand, for giving such a beautiful views. And thank you all the viewers for watching our show. Thank you very much.